Number 10. Claire Parker. Claire Parker, along with help from her twin brother Ben, managed to defeat the villain known as Morlun. She and Ben appeared in the acclaimed 6-issue limited series The Spider-Man Life Story. Following her and her brother's defeat of Morlun, Claire would become inspired to set out and become a hero of her own, adopting a similar look to that of the alternate Spider-Man daughter, Mayday Parker. It's assumed Claire has powers similar to that of her dad, as does her brother Ben, at least he likely did before he was injured in the fight against Morlun. In Life Story, Peter shared his thoughts on Claire's prowess as a hero, saying that she was twice the hero he was at her age, and that she showed great promise as a leader. Number 9. Spider-Man. This Spider-Man is an alternate version of Jessica Drew's son, GERALD Drew. This alternate, however, hails from Earth 8. We don't know much about him, but we do know he is one of the Spider-Men on the Earth 8 superhero team, the Amazing 8. In the main reality of Earth 616, baby GERALD Drew does not yet have any powers, but in this alternate reality where Jerry appears to be an accomplished superhero, it's more than likely that his powers mirror that of his mother's. This wouldn't be the first reality where we'd see Jerry grow up to have superpowers either. Number 8. Spider-Girl. This spider daughter is basically an alternate version of the ever-popular Mayday Parker. The main difference being we didn't see as much of her as the original version. She hails from the alternate Earth of 1122, appearing in Universe X. The other main difference is that it suggested her father was not in fact Peter Parker, but his clone, Ben Reilly. Number 7. BENJY Parker. Also known as Benjamin Parker, Benji is the son of Peter Parker and Mary Jane. He's also the youngest brother of May Parker and hails from Earth in 982. At a young age, he found himself taken over by the Carnage symbiote merged with that little tyke. This event is believed to have triggered his spider-like abilities, which manifested when he was still a toddler, much to his parents' annoyance. Imagine trying to look after a kid who can crawl around on the ceiling. Because his powers manifested so young, it is believed that Benji could grow up to become more powerful than both his father and his sister. Number 6. Venom. Not only does the May Parker of Earth 9997 have the powers of Spider-Man, being his and Mary Jane's daughter, but she also possesses the power of the symbiote known as Venom. May Parker's willpower is also so great that she actually managed to bend the symbiote to her will, who had originally bonded with her in an attempt to turn her against her father and make her evil. May, however, refused to give in, although her father doubted how much control she truly had over the suit, making their relationship more complicated. May was also trained by Daredevil, who helped her to hone her spider sense so that she could use it to not just sense danger, but to also zero in on her enemies and those in danger. This newfound sense of control also helped her to subdue the vengeful symbiote Venom when it originally came for her, soothing it and merging with it. Number 5. Spider-Girl. Charlotte doesn't just share the powers of most spider folk, but is also known for being an adept detective, a skill you don't commonly see among many of the spider folks. Spider-Girl is Charlotte Morales Stacy, for those not familiar. She is from Earth 8, an alternate Earth where an adult Gwen and Miles ended up settling down, got married, and had kids. They have a son and daughter together, and Charlotte is that daughter. Spider-Girl is part of the team known as the Amazing 8, who operate out of Earth 8, and has even shown leadership skills, convincing her teammates to help out an alternate version of their mom, who we'd know as the original Gwen Stacy from Earth 65. Number 4. Spider-Boy. Of course, I can't just talk about his sister and not talk about Max. Maximilian Morales Stacy is the brother of Charlotte and son of Miles Morales and Gwen Stacy. Often referred to as Max or Spider-Boy, he's also a member of the Amazing 8 superhero team that operates out of Earth 8 and inherited powers from both of his famous superhero parents. He is super strong and can lift up to 10 tons currently. Not only that, but his super strength and durability have enabled his legs to be powerful enough to leap a shorter building in a single bound. We're not talking about skyscrapers here, but he can at least jump a few stories high, which is still pretty impressive. Not only that, but Max can use his pheromones to influence and manipulate others, possesses the same bioelectric venom blast powers as his dad, and he also has spidey sense. Number 3. Spiderling. Spiderling is Annie May Parker from the alternate Earth of 18119, aka Dr. Doom's Battle World. She is unique when it comes to her powers in the sense that her spidey sense is more in-depth or more powerful than her dad's. It can sometimes give her insight into the future, and she's even managed to use it as a psychic attack before, something we've never really seen Peter do. While most legacy super kids don't usually show signs of powers until they hit puberty, Annie's powers also began to manifest at a younger age, implying, like Lil Benji, that she could likely grow up to be way more powerful than her dad. When she was just a kid, she thought her middle name was No, and not May, as her parents were always calling out "Annie, no!" every time she innocently used her powers. Like when she went to retrieve her lost ball by lifting up the car it had rolled underneath. Annie, no! Number 2. Spider-Woman. Mayday Parker is one of the most famous and popular Spider-Folks of the multiverse, and for good reason. She originally went by the alias Spider-Girl when she was younger, but is now more often referred to in her adult years as Spider-Woman. She hails from Earth 982, an alternate reality where MJ and Peter settled down and had kids. May ended up developing spider-like abilities similar to but different than her father's. Or, well, it's more that she found different ways to make use of them. For example, she's been shown to be able to use her spidey sense to find the weak spots in her opponents, striking at points that she senses would be the least dangerous for her to attack, so the most likely to help take them down. When May first came on the scene, she impressed the heck out of experienced superhero Johnny Storm, aka the Human Torch, as well, who was so impressed he joined his friend Peter for coffee just to gush about how amazing and skilled he thought May, Peter's daughter, was as a superhero. Number 1. May Parker. What? But what child of Spider-Man could possibly be greater than Mayday Parker? Well, I don't know if greater is an all-around accurate adjective to apply here, but more powerful? Definitely. This is May Parker from Earth 91110. We only get to see her as a baby, mind you, but she is so full of promise, I had to include her. This child of Spider-Man comes to us from the 89 What If series. She is featured at the tail end of issue 31. This What If story asks the question of what if Spider-Man had not lost his cosmic powers, and basically not given up his mantle as Captain Universe, a version of Peter Parker who is Spider-Man but imbued with the Unipower or Enigma Force. At the end of this What If, Peter still does end up relinquishing these cosmic matter manipulation and kind of reality warping powers, and as such even sacrifices his own original powers when he realizes the Unipower is actually clouding his sense of judgment. So after that he becomes completely depowered. Later on, following these events, MJ gives birth to their daughter, which was likely conceived during the time in which Peter was imbued with the Enigma Force, as she seems to have been born with it. You can see it in her eyes. And so Enigma Force baby is likely the most powerful alternate Spider-Man child that we'll probably never see again. Number 10. Ben Parker. Ben and May, by the way, are going to be names you'll get familiar with on this list, so to start off with each point, I'm going to try to clarify just which Ben and which May we're talking about. This Ben is from the Spider-Man Limited series written by J.J. Abrams and his son Henry. It's known as the 2019 Just Spider-Man series, or Spider-Man Volume 3. Here Ben was a young boy when his mother Mary Jane Watson was murdered by the villain known as Cadaverous. His father Peter, distraught, retired as Spider-Man and abandoned his son, leaving him to be raised by what should be a super elderly Aunt May at this point. Aunt May raised Ben as she had Peter and eventually gave him his father's costume, which he then wore to impress his classmate Faye Ito, or Ito Faye, depending on how you want to say it, Japanese way or American way. But when Cadaverous resurfaced, Ben also wore this suit to fight against him, possessing the same powers as his dad. Number 9. May Parker. This May Parker comes to us from Universe X, from the reality of Earth 1122. She first appeared in Universe X issue X. Yep, weird lettered issue. I don't like that. Her past is similar to that of another alternate daughter of Spidey's, but with one possible difference. It's implied that she is actually the daughter of clone Ben Reilly and not Peter himself. Her mother is Mary Jane, however, implying that Ben and MJ maybe had a thing, maybe while she was with Peter. We don't really know. She has similar powers to that of Spider-Man and ends up joining X-51's superhero team composed of different heroes from alternate realities known as the Heralds. You can check out the Heralds team in the Paradise X Herald series. Number 8. Spider-Woman. Actually, Barton is technically Spider-Man's granddaughter, but is still a grandchild of his, so still a child of Spider-Man. See what I did? And she is super cool, so I had to include her. She made her first appearance in 2003's Wolverine series issue 67 and comes to us from the Old Man Logan universe of Earth 807128. She is the daughter of Peter Parker's youngest daughter, Tonya, and Hawkeye. Yeah, try not to focus too much on the potential age difference there. Feels a little little wince-inducing. Ashley attempted to take over Hammer Falls and usurp Kingpin's rule there, but she was captured. Old Man Hawkeye later rescued her, only for her to try and kill him, surprisingly. She appears to have powers similar to those of Spider-Man. It's kind of a weird point to finish it on, but whatever, Amanda, that's what you wrote. Number 7. Richie Parker. Richie Parker comes to us from the House of M reality. We've seen 2 different versions of him from different realities, and it's implied that Richard Parker II would grow up to exhibit superpowers similar to his father's, potentially even being able to produce organic webbing in addition to Peter's usual power set. Rather than being the son of Mary Jane and Peter, Richie is the son of Gwen Stacy and Peter Parker. There is a version of him with powers in What If Spider-Man House of M issue number 1, and a little baby version of him in the series Spider-Man House of M. Number 6. Venom. This May Parker comes to us from the reality of Earth 9997. That would be the universe of Earth X. She first appeared in 1999's Earth X series in issue number 1. She is also the daughter of Peter Parker and Mary Jane, like so many of these kids. However, her mother died of cancer when she was younger. Her powers manifested when she was just a teen and are similar to her father's. But May also has the powers granted to her by the alien symbiote known as Venom, whom she is bonded to. Initially, the Venom symbiote sought her out after leaving an elderly Eddie Brock, hoping to continue its vengeful pursuits against May's father and turn her against him. May's willpower and spider sense proved too powerful for the symbiote though, and so its plan did not work. Instead, she bent the being to her will and used the symbiote for her own heroic means. But she still goes by the name Venom, which I like. Number 5. Benji Parker. Benji is one of Peter's children with Mary Jane from the reality of Earth 19529. He first appeared in Spider-Man Life Story issue number 3 and was created by Chip Zdarsky and Mark Bagley. In this reality, Mary Jane gave birth to twins and left Peter shortly after they were born, not being able to deal with the fact that Peter led 2 lives. One is Peter Parker and one is the hero Spider-Man. Benji was likely mostly estranged from his father for a good amount of his childhood, as Mary Jane took her children with her when she left Peter and raised them near Portland, Oregon. But Benji would reconnect with his dad when he was 11. Number 4. Claire Parker. Claire is the twin sister to Benji. She also first appeared in Spider-Man Life Story issue number 3. Later on in their lives, her family would be tormented by the villain known as Morlun, who killed their Uncle Ben shortly after Claire had returned home after finishing college. Peter hoped to lure Morlun away from his family by returning to New York, but instead Morlun chose this opportunity to strike on Peter's kids. He attempted to devour Claire's life energy, but she managed to fend him off by attacking him while he fed. Benji came up with a theory that Morlun was actually more vulnerable to being attacked while feeding, and came up with a plan to use himself as bait so that Claire could defeat him. This plan actually worked, but it also left Benji permanently injured, causing him to have to walk with a cane for the rest of his life. Number 3. Spiderling. Anna May Annie Parker is from the Earth of 18119. She made her first appearance in 2015's Amazing Spider-Man Renew Your Vows issue number 1. Her Earth was revealed to be one of the alternates condensed and weirdly preserved in God Emperor Doom's battle world following the incursions. The reality was transformed into the domain known as the Regency. In this alternate reality, Annie was the daughter of Mary Jane and Peter and developed spider-like abilities similar to her father's. Her spider sense also grants her a kind of future vision, and as such is considered more involved and more powerful than Peter's. Number 2. Little Benjamin Benji Parker. This Ben Parker, fondly referred to by his sister as Benji, first appeared in 1998's Spider-Girl in issue 59. You know what that means. He is the little brother of Mayday Parker. Benji showed signs of powers very early on. He bonded with the Carnage symbiote when he was just a little toddler, and May had to use sonic waves to separate the symbiote from him. Because he was so small, his eardrums actually burst, giving him hearing loss and making him deaf, which May felt awful about and super responsible for. Even without his hearing though, Benji was still a perfectly happy little boy. He would later recover his hearing, but after bonding with the symbiote, it was believed that the experience may have altered Benji's physiology somehow. His powers began to surface shortly afterward, leaving him crawling on ceilings and walls and manifesting and using his own super strong organic webbing. It's believed Benji could even grow up become a more powerful hero than both his sister and his father. Number 1. Mayday Parker. May Parker, aka Spider-Girl, aka Spider-Woman, is one of the most famous of Spider-Man's kids. kids. She is from the alternate reality of Earth 982 and first appeared in the 1989 What If series in issue 105. The story she was featured in sought to answer the question, what if Mary Jane had never lost the baby and Spider-Man had a Spider-Girl? People loved Mayday so much that she would later get her own series, Spider-Girl, which would have a 100-issue run. Pretty impressive. Like her little brother, she is of course the daughter of Mary Jane and Peter. She shares her father's abilities, but she isn't quite as physically strong as he is. However, she does have enhanced agility and spider sense, which more than makes up for that slight difference in strength. Number 10. Felicity Hardy. Alas, we have yet to get a child whose parents are Black Cat, aka Felicia Hardy, and Spider-Man, aka Peter Parker. In the PS4 DLC featuring Black Cat for the Spider-Man game, it was alluded that Felicia had maybe had a secret son without informing Peter, and that he was the father. However, this was later revealed to all be a ruse. We got tricked. So far, that seems to be as close as we've gotten to seeing these two have a child together. What we do have though is a daughter of Felicia's who took up the mantle of Scarlet Spider. That's her daughter, Felicity Hardy, who comes to us from Earth 982. She is the daughter of Felicia and Flash Thompson, Peter's good friend and former high school bully. Felicia later leaves Flash and starts a relationship with her work colleague Diana, causing some strain between her and her daughter. Scarlet Spider was trained by her mother, has a brilliant investigative mind, and uses gadgets in order to simulate spider-like abilities while acting as a hero. She wasn't born with any specific powers. She's also a friend and ally of Mayday Parker. Number 9. Maxine Lee. Maxine Lee is like an adopted daughter to Miles Morales in the comic Miles Morales: The End. Well, really more like an adopted but willful niece. She is the daughter of Genki Lee, who in this reality of Earth 13153 became a hero before he died. Genki in the reality of 1610 is known for being Miles' BFF and also made an appearance in Into the Spider-Verse, albeit a kinda small one. I think we were all hoping for more Genki than what we got. Maxine Lee here is his daughter and is the deputy mayor of Brooklyn, while Miles himself is the mayor of New York. He insists Maxine call him Uncle Miles, but she kinda refuses to do so. Number 8. April Parker. April Parker is the clone of May Parker from Earth 982. When May was just a baby, Norman Osborn had her clone. He turned this clone into the first human symbiote hybrid. This was an experiment that was part of a plan to help Norman find a path to immortality, resurrecting himself as a more powerful Green Goblin. Originally, April was a misguided villain who actually didn't really even have a name. She would take up the name April after she reformed and agreed to join the Parker family, creating a cover of being May's cousin, with her name April being a play on May's name, as in the months of the calendar year, April and May, which are right next to one another sequentially. April would take up multiple different mantles, including Mayhem, one she took up in a future where she turned against May but ultimately sacrificed herself in order to save her cousin in the end. Number 7. Spider-Man. This is an alternate version of Jerry Drew from Earth 982. He grew up to become a Spider-Man in his reality after his mother Jessica Drew recreated the experiment that saved her life and gave her powers. She had to, as Jerry was born with a unique blood disorder, apparently being passed on from Jessica during the gestation period in her womb. Her radioactive physiology caused him to be born with this disorder, and when no one from the medical community seemed to have the answer, she turned to the procedure that once saved her life. It gave Jerry powers but didn't cure him, unfortunately. In this reality, Jessica Drew ended up retiring from her superhero life after becoming depowered. She got married and had a son, but later would divorce her husband after the trauma of not being able to cure Jerry caused strain in her relationship. Number 6. Tonya Barton. Before she was married to Clint Barton, she was Tonya Parker, and actually, she went back to being Tonya Parker after her and Barton separated. She was Clint's third wife, if you can believe it, and the youngest daughter of Spider-Man in the reality of Earth 807128. We don't know who her mother was or who her sisters were, but we do know she had sisters. She was the mother to Ashley Barton, Peter's granddaughter, who in the Old Man universe would end up taking over Kingpin's area known as Hammer Falls, and would later team up with other multiversal spider totems in the fight against the Inheritors. Ashley's pretty cool. Tonya herself is a master master mechanic and perhaps even has a knack for robotics. It's implied anyways. Number 5. Jerry Drew. Jerry Drew is theorized to be an alternate future version of Gerald Drew from Earth 8. He ends up joining up with the other alternate heroes of Earth 8, becoming a member of the Amazing 8 superhero team, known himself as Spider-Man. The team includes Spider-Girl, Spider-Boy, SP//DR, or Spider, I think is how we say that, Spider-Ham, another Spider-Man, Spider-Woman, and a Craven relative also known as Spider-Woman. Lots of Spider-Women. All of these versions of the characters seemingly originating from Earth 8, despite usually being associated with other alternate worlds. Not much is known of Jerry Drew, but he is assumed to be the son of Jessica Drew of Earth 8. He also has some pretty sweet goggles. Number 4. Spider-Boy. Maximilian Morales Stacy is the son of Gwen Stacy and Miles Morales from the alternate reality of Earth 8. Gwen and Miles learned of this alternate reality where they got married and had kids, and were super freaked out by it in the 2015 Spider-Gwen series. Max goes by the superhero mantle Spider-Boy and fights crime along with his sister and parents, which are all obviously part of the Amazing 8 team we just talked about, which operates out of Earth 8. He first became a hero while battling the villain Mojo Harvey, an interdimensional talk show host, alongside his sister. Number 3. Spider-Girl. Charlotte Morales Stacy is the daughter of Miles Morales and Gwen Stacy from the alternate universe of Earth 8. She grows up to become the teen hero known as Spider-Girl. Both Gwen and Miles worked hard as parents to shield their children from the public, as in this reality they are basically celebrities because of their hero status. The Watchers actually determined that Spider-Girl and her brother Spider-Boy were both threats to their timeline due to the fact that they would go on to become interdimensional heroes, often running into alternate versions of their parents. Awkward. Number 2. Gerald Drew. Little baby Gerald is the son of Jessica Drew of Earth 616, the main continuity. Jessica Drew, aka Spider-Woman, decided she wanted to become a mother solo styles. The story she tells her BFF Carol Danvers is that she had a pregnancy scare with a man she'd been casually seeing at the time named Ryan. After discovering, however, that she wasn't pregnant, she realized how disappointed she was. Now, she had never thought that she wanted kids, but she had never really revisited that priority in a long time. And it seemed that now she very much changed her mind and she did want kids. She really wanted a baby. She contemplated this decision for 3 months, then made an appointment to discuss her options. Jessica became a mom solo after that. There was a dad, but he is presumably just a donor, not someone Jessica ever met, or maybe ever wants to meet. Her son Gerald is often babysat by Jessica's friend and later romantic partner Roger, formerly known as Criminal Porcupine, when she needs to go out on superhero business. Gerald has yet to show any signs of being superpowered, however, he's still kinda wee yet, so there's hope that we could see a little spider baby. Number 1. Mystery Baby. This has been something that has always left me wondering in the comics. MJ and Peter have gotten pregnant a few times in the comics, but none has scarred me the most is when Mary Jane was convinced she gave birth to a stillborn baby in Amazing Spider-Man issue 418. This was all revealed to be part of a plot conducted by Norman Osborn, who sought to steal that baby. Why? Well, we never really found out why. A woman in his employ named Allison seemed to spirit the young baby, who we can assume would be named May, away from her parents and off to Europe. But we've never found out what came of that child. During Identity Crisis, there was a hint that May would return, but it would turn out later to be Peter's Aunt May, and not the daughter of Mary Jane and Peter. The whereabouts of this child, if it's still alive, remains unknown. It has been suggested that the baby was killed by Norman in the comics, but then why the plot and investment to have it taken to Europe only to murder that baby? Doesn't really make a lot of sense. I'm still hopeful that one day we'll learn that the child survived and maybe see her return to the comics. Or him, that could be a twist, because I think we're all expecting, a May.